I sat in my corner office at Quantum Solutions, watching the sun rise over the city skyline. Below, employees of Maxwell Industries streamed into their building, not realizing that every keystroke, every login, every piece of data they touched today would flow through my software platform. The same platform their CEO had once called worthless. The irony wasn't lost on me. 5 years earlier. This is a joke, right? James Maxwell II leaned back in his leather chair, looking at my presentation with barely concealed disdain. You expect me to believe that some entry-level programmer has created a system that could revolutionize our entire operation. I stood my ground despite the trembling in my hands. At 24, I was the youngest senior developer at Maxwell Industries, though you wouldn't know it from my salary or title. The numbers speak for themselves, sir. My platform could reduce our processing time by 80%, cut operational costs by half, and... Enough. He waved his hand dismissively. David, why did you waste my time with this? David Chen, my immediate supervisor, shifted uncomfortably. Miss Sullivan showed promising results in initial testing. You thought wrong. Maxwell's voice cut like ice. We're a Fortune 500 company, not some startup playground. We don't need software cobbled together by junior staff who don't understand real business needs. I felt my face burn. Mr. Maxwell, if you just look at the test results. Miss Sullivan. He stood, his 6'2" frame towering over my desk. Let me make this clear. Your software is worthless. Your ideas are naive. And if you want to keep your job, you'll focus on your actual duties instead of playing entrepreneur. The meeting ended there. I walked out clutching my laptop, my dreams of revolutionizing the company's outdated systems crumbling around me. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst came 2 weeks later, when I discovered what they'd really done with my presentation. I was working late, as usual, when an email notification popped up on my screen. Someone had forgotten to revoke my access to the executive team's shared drive. There, in a folder marked Strategic Initiatives, I found my platform presentation with David Chen's name on it. They had stolen my work. But they'd done it wrong. The implementation plan they drafted missed crucial elements of the system architecture. If they tried to build it this way, it would fail spectacularly. I should have reported it. Should have gone to HR or legal. Instead, I did something better. I quit. My resignation letter was brief and professional. I cited personal reasons, gave my 2 weeks' notice, and left with nothing but my original code and my determination to prove them wrong. They never thought to check what I took with me. Never imagined that their worthless junior programmer had already patented the core algorithms of the platform under my own name. The first 6 months were brutal. I moved into a tiny studio apartment, lived on ramen noodles, and coded 18 hours a day. My platform evolved into something far beyond what I'd originally pitched to Maxwell Industries. I called it NeuronX, a fully integrated enterprise management system that could adapt and learn from user behavior. It wasn't just a software platform. It was a digital nervous system for corporations. Then came the meeting that changed everything. Sarah Zhang, a venture capitalist known for her sharp instincts in tech investments, actually listened to my pitch. Really listened. Walk me through the architecture again, she said, leaning forward in her chair. How does the neural learning component interface with legacy systems? For 2 hours, we discussed technical specifications, market potential, and scaling strategies. By the end, she wasn't just interested, she was excited. This is remarkable, she said finally. But why hasn't anyone else developed something similar? I smiled. They tried. Maxwell Industries attempted it last year, failed spectacularly. Her eyes narrowed. The Maxwell implementation failure? That was your system. No, I corrected her. That was their attempt to copy my system, without understanding how it actually worked. She laughed then, a sharp, delighted sound. Oh, this is perfect. Do you know how many companies are desperate for exactly this kind of solution after watching Maxwell crash and burn? I knew. I've been counting on it. I want in, she said. $5 million for 20% stake, plus connections to every major tech company in the country. A week later, Neurotech was born. We moved fast. Sarah's connections opened doors I hadn't even known existed. Within 3 months, we had our first major client, a regional bank looking to modernize their systems. Within 6 months, we had a waiting list. The platform worked exactly as I designed it. Companies reported efficiency increases beyond even my original projections. Word spread. I kept my name out of the press, using my middle name and my mother's maiden name professionally. As far as the business world knew, Neuratech was founded by Elizabeth Morgan, a previously unknown software architect. Maxwell Industries didn't make the connection. How could they? Their worthless junior programmer couldn't possibly be the mysterious CEO taking the tech world by storm. They were too busy dealing with their own problems. Their failed attempt to implement their stolen version of my platform had cost them millions. Their stock was dropping. Their competitors were pulling ahead. Then came the email I've been waiting for. Dear Ms. Morgan, I represent Maxwell Industries, a Fortune 500 company currently seeking to modernize our enterprise systems. We've been following Neuratech's success with great interest. Sincerely, James Maxwell, Iowa CEO, Maxwell Industries. I read the email 3 times, savoring every word. They weren't just asking for help, they were begging. Sarah called me as soon as she saw the email in our system. Tell me you're going to take this meeting, she said, barely containing her glee. Of course. I smiled, looking out my office window at the Maxwell Industries building. But not right away. Let them sweat a little. You're evil, she laughed. I love it. I let them wait 2 weeks before responding. 2 weeks during which their stock fell another 15%. 2 weeks of watching James Maxwell Iowa give increasingly desperate interviews about his company's digital transformation strategy. Finally, I agreed to a meeting. But not at their offices. They would come to me. I spent the morning of the meeting in my private gym, working off nervous energy. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. 3 years ago, I'd stood nervously in Maxwell's office, watching him dismiss my life's work as worthless. Today, he would walk into my building, into my office, never knowing he was about to beg the same person for help. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Mr. Maxwell and his team have arrived. I smoothed my designer suit, worth more than 3 months of my old Maxwell Industries salary, and smiled. Send them up. The game was about to begin. James Maxwell Iowa hadn't changed much in 3 years. Same expensive suit, same air of entitled arrogance. But something was different in his eyes now, a hint of desperation he couldn't quite hide. Ms. Morgan. He extended his hand, trying to project confidence. Thank you for meeting with us. Behind him stood David Chen, looking considerably grayer than I remembered, and 2 other executives I recognized from my Maxwell days. None of them showed any sign of recognizing me. Amazing what a designer wardrobe and success can do to change how people see you. Please sit. I gestured to the conference table, deliberately taking my time settling into my chair. Let them wait, just as they'd made me wait 3 years ago. I'll be direct, Maxwell began. Maxwell Industries is looking to modernize our enterprise systems. Your platform's reputation speaks for itself. I raised an eyebrow. Does it? Tell me, Mr. Maxwell, what exactly do you know about our system? He launched into a clearly rehearsed speech about Neuratech's market success. Careful to use technical terms I knew he didn't understand. David Chen kept nodding, probably having briefed him on the talking points. Impressive research, I said when he finished. But you haven't mentioned your company's previous attempt at digital transformation. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Maxwell's jaw tightened. That was an unfortunate misstep, he said carefully. We received some bad advice. David Chen suddenly became very interested in his tablet screen. Bad advice? I picked up my iPad, pulling up some files. You mean the platform you tried to implement 2 years ago? The one that cost you $30 million and failed spectacularly. How did you? David started, but Maxwell cut him off with a glare. We've learned from our mistakes, Maxwell said smoothly. That's why we're here. We need the best, and Neuratech is clearly the best. I stood walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Below, the Maxwell Industries building stood like a monument to outdated thinking. Tell me, I said, still looking out, what happened to the developer who originally designed that system? The one whose work you tried to steal. The silence behind me was deafening. I don't know what you're talking about, Maxwell said finally, but his voice had lost its smoothness. I turned back, fixing him with a steady gaze. No? Let me refresh your memory. Young developer, female, presented a revolutionary platform design. You called it worthless. Ring any bells? David Chen's face had gone pale. Maxwell's eyes narrowed. How do you know? I smiled, sitting back down. I know everything about Maxwell Industries, Mr. Maxwell. I know your stock has dropped 40% this year. I know you've lost 3 major clients to competitors using Neuratech systems. I know you're 6 months away from being voted out by your board if you don't turn things around. Who are you? He whispered. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall screen came to life. On it appeared my old platform presentation, the original one, with my name on it. Hello, Mr. Maxwell. Remember me? The worthless junior programmer? The room erupted in chaos. David Chen actually dropped his tablet. Maxwell surged to his feet, his face turning an interesting shade of purple. This is impossible, he sputtered. You can't be. Elizabeth Morgan. That's my middle name and my mother's maiden name. But you knew me as Alice Sullivan, the developer whose work you stole, the one whose ideas you called worthless. We'll sue, he threatened, but his voice shook. That platform was developed while you worked for us. No, I cut him off. The patents were filed before I ever showed you the presentation. Check your records. Oh wait, you can't. Your system is too outdated to access archives that old. If only someone had warned you about the need to modernize. I stood smoothing my skirt. But that's not why you're here. You're here because you need Neuratech. Your entire industry has moved to our platform. You're hemorrhaging clients every day you delay. Name your price, Maxwell said through gritted teeth. Price? I laughed softly. Mr. Maxwell, you don't understand. I'm not selling to you. I'm buying you. I slid a document across the table. Neuratech is launching a hostile takeover of Maxwell Industries. We already have support from 40% of your shareholders. With your stock price dropping, we'll have the rest within weeks. The blood drained from his face as he read the papers. This is revenge, he said weakly. No, Mr. Maxwell, this is business. Your company is undervalued, has a strong client base, and would benefit from proper technological integration. It's exactly the kind of acquisition Neuratech looks for. I paused. The fact that it's deeply satisfying is just a bonus. The board will never approve. They already have. I pressed another button, and new documents appeared on the screen. They voted this morning. You're the last to know. David Chen looked like he might faint. What happens to us? That depends. I sat back down. Neuratech believes in keeping valuable employees. Of course, we'll need to evaluate everyone's contributions carefully, starting with how they treat junior developers with innovative ideas. The implications hung heavy in the air. You can't do this, Maxwell whispered. I already have. I stood again. Security will escort you out. HR will contact you about the transition. Oh, and Mr. Maxwell, your office has a lovely view. I think I'll keep it. After they left, Sarah called. How did it feel? Better than I expected, I replied, watching through my window as Maxwell and his team hurried out of the building. How's the stock responding? Up 12% on the news. The market loves the idea of Neuratech modernizing Maxwell Industries. I smiled. Schedule the press conference for tomorrow. It's time for Elizabeth Morgan to show her face publicly. Going to give them the full story? No, I turned away from the window. The story isn't about revenge. It's about innovation winning over obsolescence, about the future replacing the past, and about worthless software becoming priceless. Exactly. The next day, as I stood at the podium announcing Neuratech's acquisition of Maxwell Industries, I wore the same blazer I'd worn to that first failed presentation. No one else would know the significance, but I did. The reporters asked about my background, about why I'd stay out of the public eye. I gave them practiced answers about focusing on development, about letting the technology speak for itself. They didn't need to know about the garage coding sessions, the nights spent perfecting algorithms, the tears of frustration when Maxwell had dismissed my work. Success was revenge enough. Maxwell Industries became a Neuratech subsidiary within a month. I kept my promise about evaluating employees. Many stayed. Some even flourished under the new management. David Chen now works in middle management, overseeing basic system maintenance. He's good at following protocols, just not at recognizing innovation. As for James Maxwell, he retired to spend more time with his family. His corner office became my secondary workspace, a reminder that no good idea is ever truly worthless. It just needs to find the right person to believe in it. Sometimes during late nights at the office, I pull up my old presentation, the one they called worthless. I keep it as a reminder that success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The Maxwell Industries building still stands, but now it's part of the Neura Tech campus. Every morning, thousands of employees log into their systems, their work flowing through my platform, their successes built on the foundation of an idea once dismissed as worthless. And in my old blazer pocket, I keep a small note, my original resignation letter from Maxwell Industries. On the back, in my handwriting from 3 years ago, are the words, "Remember this moment. It's not the end." I was right, it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.